Da, 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 da. Welcome to The Hoax. I am Chris Hoke, and this is
Mark Hoke.
And we do stuff. And we host a show called The Incredible Hoax.
Yeah.
Today's lesson is comebacks. No. Actually, we're going to talk about that. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, today we're in the Bat Cave.
We're back at Red Sea Studios.
Yes.
Not because my camera's broke, but just because I'm busy editing, and so really couldn't.
Work continues.
So it's just easier just to stop for a little bit instead of like doing a bunch of other stuff. So
Yeah. But here we are.
Yeah.
Well, we thought we'd start today with in the internet and on talk shows everywhere. The news.
Social media.
News has been. Yeah, there too. The big talk.
Inside joke. Sorry.
The big talk has been about Ted Williams, the homeless man in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, not the baseball player had his head cut off and frozen.
He's still frozen somewhere in Glendale, Arizona, I believe.
But the homeless dude.
Right. And he just happened to have this really good voice that sounded like,
I'm Ted Williams.
Like one of those sports announcers or whatever. Well, next thing you know, he starts getting all these job offers, like Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team. Well, anyway, such a remarkable story of second chance. I thought, well, let's talk about celebrity second chances.
And Michael Vick, he's had his second chance year of killing dogs to starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, getting to the playoffs and everything, and an MVP candidate.
Right.
So, there's another comeback story for the year. So, 2010 was all about comebacks.
Yeah.
But not in the dirty way.
Well, he's a guy that, he still kind of, in some circles, will split a room. But, America...
Ted Williams?
No. You brought up Michael Vick.
I know. Yeah, there's people who are going to be mad at him for forever.
Right.
But I would say in the larger societal sense that people have kind of moved on. There's always going to have a few people out there.
Sure.
Well,
America is a forgiven society.
Yeah.
What was interesting about the Ted Williams situation was the media, a few days afterwards, tried to bring up all the specifics of the man's, he had been arrested for his past and his arrest, specifically his arrests, for drugs and all that. Well, you just got
homeless. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. I got the sense from the American people were like, it was like, media, you're kind of pissing on us here. Yeah. It's like we kind of rejected. It's like, wait a minute, something kind of cool has happened.
Yeah.
And right now with this Great Recession going on, we just like a little good news, a little good happiness for somebody. He's homeless, so we know he's had a checker pass.
That goes back to a whole other societal problem.
Yeah.
Frankly, if it's more than two people, it's too much. But there's a segment of society that honest to God believes that there's some people who are homeless that just choose to live that way. And they go, you know what? There's really nothing wrong with him. He just chooses to live that way. And they really believe that. When the fact is, most people who are homeless have deep issues with drugs, alcohol, mental illness, those type things.
Right.
Honestly, there are people out there that really believe that there's a percentage of homeless that they just choose to live that way.
Yeah, the only person I can think of that tried that ended up dying in a abandoned bus in Alaska.
I would argue he was mentally ill.
I'm referring to the movie Into the Wild, the real life story of Christopher McCandless, and it's disturbing to see a man cut up his social security card. And he's literally burning $100 bills, and you're watching this going, "You crazy nut job!"
Yeah, exactly. See, you said crazy.
Yeah.
People. I'm not trying to be mean. There for the grace of God go I understand that. But usually if you're homeless, you've got some issues.
That's why
it's not the happy hobo with the stick with the bandana full of stuff on it, just whistling and ha ha ha, king of the road. That's movies. That's fiction. That's not reality. Reality is you got no teeth. You're addicted to crack. Nobody wants to be around you. You smell. You've got some sort of mental. You're mentally deranged, and that's why you're freaking homeless. It's not he just chooses to live that way. The happy hobo. No.
Don't you like the ones that have to add that extra element of if they choose that life, that somehow they'll also like, they can impart wisdom, in this poetry, life, it just comes in circles. Ooh, how profound! You were homeless,
like the Joe Pesci movie where he was homeless, but he's really a genius or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
They really think that's real.
Was that with honors or something like that? With Joe Pesci?
I might have been. I can't remember.
In the Harvard basement.
And there's people out there like the homeless person is like,
ridiculous.
Oh, really? He goes home and he's got a mansion. Name me one case. Name one case where the guy went home at the end of the day to a mansion. And he panhandled and was a homeless bum all day.
Yeah.
Give me one case. I defy you.
I mean, what are you trying to prove, though? You get like this, 5,000 square foot home, but you're going to like run around, unshaved, haven't bathed in weeks, pushing a shopping cart. It's crazy.
The reason we were saying that is they came out with the Ted Williams stuff.
Yes.
Saying, I guess, I didn't follow it too closely, but apparently they're trying to say, he had this shady past. And our point is, no kidding, he was freaking homeless. Of course he had a shady past.
Exactly.
What do you expect?
Yeah, before we get off on too big of a tangent.
Yeah, so bring it back around.
Bring it back. Well, yeah, it was kind of like, it's like, yeah, exactly. It was like, well, no kidding, he's homeless.
Yeah.
We get that. We understand this guy's not, there's a reason why he's homeless.
Yeah, he's done some nasty, filthy things.
But even in America, God bless America, this guy's gotten a second chance.
Right.
And with that said, we'll segue into other celebrities, just briefly.
Who have been homeless with no teeth.
Who've been homeless and...
So first up is Courtney Love. And... No.
Well, I thought one of the bigger examples of somebody that got a second chance was Robert Downey Jr. I mean, here's a guy who had just immense problems with drugs, especially in the 90s. I mean, he eventually he can't get a job in movies, so he goes to television.
He got canned off that.
And he got canned off of that.
It was Ally McBeal.
Ally McBeal. He was there for what, a season and a half?
Something's bugging me. Hang on.
All right.
Just bear with us, folks. It's driving me nuts, and I'm going to fix it. And no, it's not. That's what we're gonna. The little monitor on the camera was turned the other way. We couldn't see it. It's driving me bonkers.
Oh, okay.
All right. Back to it.
All right. You may have to edit that part. Anyway.
They know by now that these are raw and unscripted.
Exactly.
The most editing we do is we put the little logo at the beginning with the Take It Easy music on it.
Right.
And then the ending, and that's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just runs. Kind of like Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was fascinating to see a guy who really had just been relegated to television, and then it was like bit parts. Yeah. And
he was in Shaggy Dog. He was the bad guy in Shaggy Dog with Tim Allen. For God's sakes.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
He was the bad guy in Shaggy Dog.
I had forgotten. Apparently, he was in a small role as a reporter in that Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I had forgot about that. I think that was him.
Was he? I don't remember. I know he was a reporter dude in Natural Born Killer.
Well, there was that, but I think he played a similar role there too. Don't quote me on that, but anyway, he kind of He's kind of worked his way back up now. Iron Man and Sherlock Holmes.
He got 2 franchises.
He's a bona fide A-list actor again.
And Due Date was made a ton of dough.
Sure, yeah, that's a recent hit.
Yeah, so he's back. He just don't screw it up, Robert Downey Jr. Don't do like Morton Downey Jr. Be Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, exactly. Well, another one I thought of was Winona Ryder. I mean, she's got that movie. The Dilemma coming out soon.
And she was in Black Swan.
Right. So she seems to be rebounding.
Yeah.
And her thing was apparently she had, I think, broke her arm because she was very quiet about the whole episode where she got caught for shoplifting.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2001. Well, apparently she had broke her arm and then she got addicted to painkillers.
Really? That was in the interim, in the between?
Well, that happened before the shoplifting. And so it was one of those things, she was so over-medicated, that leads to why she did what she did.
I have to admit, I didn't really follow The whole shoplifting thing. I know she shoplifted. I know it was caught on video. I know she was found guilty. Blah blah blah.
Right.
I didn't follow it that close. Did she ever say why she did it?
Well, that's the thing. She really kept it quiet. She never really explained.
It was related to the pain addiction?
But it was one of those things that like a year after, she finally did an interview and then the truth kind of came out. But she said at the time she was so embarrassed that it was getting so much big coverage. Because she said what startled her was it was like front page news. You know, she said, well, all this stuff that was going on, like in 9/11 and it was her.
Did she really? You blame it on 9/11?
Well, no. She was saying that the 9/11 should have been a bigger story, and she was like, she was getting headlines above the 9/11 stuff, and I'm like, well, it was.
Don't remember it. The media way,
kind of went. They went a little bonkers on it, but I don't know if it was that level.
Yeah, I don't think it got that.
I don't think it was I don't think it was Brangelina big. That was.
I can just say now.
Well, anyway.
Oh, by the way, 3,000 fellow Americans were killed today. But our top story.
Right.
Winona Ryder stole a Gucci bag.
I think when you're embarrassed and you've kind of been secretly, even from your family,
it's magnified.
Yeah, it's magnified. She's been hiding an addiction, and then finally it just came.
So
up. So that's really what had happened.
In your opinion, are you glad they had comebacks? Are you happy? I mean, is it a good thing?
Oh, in both cases, sure.
In both cases.
Sure. Well, and particularly Robert Downey Jr. because he's just even before he kind of really started that slide. He had shown stuff in the movie Chaplin, the Richard Attenborough film. That you could see the talent. Like, well, the sky's the limit for this guy if he can keep it together. So it's just right now it's a happy ending, and I hope he keeps it going.
Okay. All right, who? Now the question is, who do we want to see?
Yeah. People we'd like to see a second chance.
I'm about to cheat off you.
Okay.
So what is your first one? You lay it on me. Say your first one.
I'm going to say Kevin Costner because I mentioned that to you yesterday.
Because just like Winona Ryder, he caused 9/11.
His career, I mean, he had some box office duds.
Yeah.
Let's call them what they are. So he kind of, and in one film wasn't even a dud, but it was perceived to be a dud. Waterworld was a hit, but it was perceived to be a fiasco, that hurt him. And then he followed it right afterwards with another, sci-fi movie that didn't go anywhere. The Postman.
Well, the Postman was horrible.
And
it was good. Didn't they make a lot of money? So a lot of people didn't see it.
Right. Well, anyway, he's been good in westerns. Like when you think of Dancing with Wolves, for example.
Yeah.
And I would really, at his age, it would be nice to see him kind of come back and do an Open Range. That was a wonderful film. I would love to see Costner kind of come back and do those kind of grizzled westerns, like we associate with an Eastwood or a John Wayne, and I think he could do it.
Yeah. I mean, I there's two Kevin Costners in my book, and there's one that's good and there's one that sucks, something awful, and when he's in JFK, I mean. He was, probably my favorite performance of his is JFK. And Open Range was really good. And, Bull Durham and whatnot. And those are like movies like they were really deep and weighty, and they were really director focused. I mean, he was director of Open Range. He was really director focused. It's almost like he's better when he's in director focused movies than actor focused movies. So, for instance, Dance with Wolves was a very story-driven. He was the director. It was very driven by the story and the director. There was a reason why he won Best Director that year. It should have been Martin Scorsese for Goodfellas, but there's a reason why. It was a director for. It was a. What's the word I'm looking for? It was a project. It was what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use the word visionary. But there's a certain director's vision to it,
Right.
And he complements that well.
Yes.
JFK, director's vision, complemented it well.
Yes.
Bull Durham with the director, drawing a blank on his name.
Ron
Shelton.
Shelton, yes, Ron Shelton.
To me, it was a director-driven movie. You know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or maybe even the writers would kind of come through in that one, the script.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when he's just like he's got to be a movie star, it don't work out as well. You know, when he's got to be a movie star. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah,
Swing Vote, which I never saw, tanked, but from the outside looking in, it looked like it was supposed to be a star-driven type movie. Mm. The Postman was, you know, driven as him as the star. You know, Waterworld was more driven by him being the star, even though I liked Waterworld.
Right.
And
Wyatt Earp.
Wyatt Earp,
even though it had a bit of an ensemble, but still it was a vehicle.
It's like when the weight of the movie is on the director's shoulders, he's great. When the weight of the movie is on him as an actor, it ain't so good. So there's two imposters. I don't know if that made any sense or not.
I follow what you're saying. I think there's some truth to that. He's one of those guys that it's odd that here he is. You know, he obviously lives in our times. Mm-hmm. It's 2011. It's like he succeeds in films where they're not contemporary. Mm-hmm. You know, because you think of his best films, they're stories that are set in the past. Mm-hmm. You know, westerns or JFK as in the 60s. Mm-hmm. You know. 13 Days, set in the 60s. You know, these films where you remember his really good performances. And he really handles material better when it's not contemporary, which is kind of strange, but it happens.
Yeah.
I think Charlton Heston had that. Charlton Heston was much better when he was playing these kind of grander,
that's a good comparison.
Epic thing. But you put him in a contemporary piece like Touch of Evil, and you were like,
It's because they're both flat. And that's not. Both of them are a little flat. I don't know. That's not meant to be a knock, but they're a little flat.
Right.
When when they have to be more three-dimensional, and it's okay to be flat. There's some great performance. I would say John Wayne, The Searchers, one of my favorite performances ever, is flat. But that's it's not. It's you can be really great flat. And you're not agreeing. I can tell.
Well. I wouldn't go as far to call it flat. Anyway, I know what your point is.
Charlton Heston and Ben-Hur is flat. It's a flat performance. But that doesn't make it bad. Mm. Does that make sense? In other words, there's not a lot of range to the emotions. He's really good within that range.
Right.
There's not. Problem is, when Costner has to be here, he still stays here.
Well, I think what you're talking about is the kind of that intangible quality that stars can give you in a role, where it's like, look, this is not a deep character study.
Yeah.
And in a film like, like the Searchers or Ben-Hur, you needed someone that you saw within a minute. Mm-hmm. You knew exactly where this guy was, and you didn't have to give a whole lot of their past. And those guys can convey that larger than life. Yeah. But you put him in, like John Wayne, you put him in like McHugh, and you're like, whoa, this is kind of
terrible.
It's kind of dull, you know.
Yeah, that's one point. Flat's probably the wrong word.
But I know what you mean, though.
Basically, like Jack Nicholson, here's the range of acting. Bing, 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 and he can go back to narrow. He can go. Like, he's great. You know.
Well, yeah, there's a limited range. I would certainly agree.
Yeah.
Range.
Range is probably a better word, the way to say than flat.
But, anyone else we can think of besides Costner?
You got a whole list there. What do you mean, like?
Well, I proposed the name, so I was giving you a chance to propose.
Well, I don't know. There's a few actors. I don't know if I think in terms of comeback.
Okay.
Like for instance, Steve Buscemi's one of my favorite actors ever. And I wish he'd do more movies. Mm. And now he's doing Boardwalk Empire, and he's getting a lot of ratings. I didn't really care for it. It was pretty dull.
Right.
And I kept waiting for it to get good, and it just would not go anywhere. But I don't know if you could call him needing to get a comeback. You know, I just wanted to do more. Billy Bob Thornton could be in every other movie as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he needs a comeback or anything. I just wish they'd do more stuff.
Right.
You know. So I don't know. If I have, I don't know if I have an actor it's like, man, I wish they have come back and do more. I don't know if I have any of those.
Well, you know, Buscemi was really big in the late 90s. He was kind of like that kind of character actor of choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in movies like Con Air, for example, and Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kind of in these big mainstream films, and all of a sudden it's like after Ghost World, people forgot about him. They're like, well, what did he do something wrong? What's going on here? And I just thought that was strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to see whether we like it or not. It's nice to see though he's getting attention with this HBO. It's HBO, isn't it? The Boardwalk.
Yeah. So I mean, and then there's like Bruce Willis. I wish would do more like good stuff instead of like. You know, he made Red, which was like that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So, now stop saying yes to so many movies.
Yeah.
Stop. You know, you'll have to do 3 movies a year. You can do 1. You know, 1 good one.
Yeah. Well, hey, they're gonna pay. That's the thing, though. If you're getting paid $15 million to do Perfect Stranger, you know, and you might see a topless Halle Berry, you know, you say yes.
But I gotta do one more.
Oh,
we haven't talked Kevin Costner's the only one we laid on him.
Oh, okay.
Who you want to see make a comeback?
Well, I guess Michael Keaton. I mean, he was such a fun comedic actor, especially in the late '80s, and then in the early '90s to a point. Then after really when he decided to not continue the Batman role when Tim Burton left, it's like everybody just kind of started to forget about the guy. And I'm like, well, you know, I thought that was strange. I thought, well, here was a guy who no one wanted as Batman, and now you're saying he's typecast as Batman. I thought that was the weirdest thing. It's like, well, do y'all forget you didn't even want him as Batman? Then he plays the role, and then everybody's, oh, he's so great in it. It's like, well, make up your mind. It's really weird.
Is there anybody out there you don't want to come back? They're gone, and you're like, just stay gone.
Oh.
You're horrible.
Oh.
You're horrible. Stay gone. I know mine.
Well, go ahead while I have a chance.
I wish Vin Diesel would just stay gone. But he keeps making those stupid Fast and Furious movies, and they keep making money. Now they're making a 5th one with The Rock. And it's like, would you just stop? Stop it. Stop. Ben, stop. Just, you know. Just go relax somewhere. Stop making movies. You're terrible. You're terrible, Vin. You're horrible. He is. He's horrible.
Well, we haven't really talked about it on this show, but I do like Vin Diesel. Now, that doesn't mean I think he's like Oscar caliber type.
You're right.
But I do. We would agree with all that, I guess. But I do like the guy, and he's like one of those guys that if you put him in the right role, I think he does well. I mean, then he did that film Find Me Guilty, which was a small independent film, and I believe it was I want to say Sidney Lumet directed that. Anyway, he did really a nice job in that film. But you know, you see him in some other films like A Man Apart. Well, that wasn't as good, you know. So it's really a lot of times, if you find the right material, you know, to fit your abilities, you can succeed. And I should say, put a little asterisk here. I'm a huge fan of Pitch Black and the Riddick character. So I think that kind of biases my opinion. I will admit that much.
Our light's blinking. It means we got our battery life is dying.
That means we've got, what, 5 minutes?
We got to start wrapping up. Okay, we never really have talked about why I don't like Vin Diesel. I'll just put it out there real quick. I can't sympathize with him. That is my biggest problem with it. As soon as I see him, I don't relate to him. I don't sympathize with him. There's something about him that there's like a wall, a barrier there, and I have no connection to him whatsoever. And he's not the only actor that's ever had one. There's all kinds of these teen stars that do that.
Right.
Like Freddie Prinze Jr. I mean, honest to God, there's nothing behind those eyes. Remember, he was a teen star earlier in the decade.
Sure.
And there's just
the Scooby-Doo, the movie.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo. You looked at his eyes, and it's like, I mean, I know he's probably a good person and everything, I'm sure, but just on camera, there's nothing there behind those eyes. Right. And Vin Diesel's to me the same way. There's just nobody home.
Right.
I have no connection with him whatsoever. So I can't sympathize with him. You know, does that make sense?
Well, there's some actors and actresses I'll watch, and I'm just like, I just think they're just they're photogenic, but beyond that, I don't really get into what's going on.
Right. As opposed to okay, what's the flip side of that, Chris? You take Steve McQueen. As soon as you see Steve McQueen on the screen, you're like, oh, what's he doing? What's Steve McQueen up to?
Yeah.
And you just got, you're all of a sudden, you're automatically drawn in. What's Steve McQueen?
Yeah.
You're immediately connected. Don't know why, you just are. Vin, there's nothing Vin can do about it. I don't think. He just doesn't have it. So, okay, I don't know how much battery. Let me go see how much battery life we got left.
All right.
Does it tell you on here, Steph?
Yeah.
12 minutes. 12 minutes.
All right.
All right, so we gotta start wrapping it up.
Well, we'll have to skip this week's installment of the Bizarre Moments because we're just not gonna have time to get it in.
You don't have a quick one?
Well, we'd have to skip around to do it.
Okay.
In order,
right.
Yeah.
All right, so you'll have to So let's go to the quote.
We'll do 4 next week. How's that? Which he'll love, I'm sure.
Yay, pinks. Yay.
Let's go into movie rental suggestion now.
Okay, you don't have to go first.
All right. Sorry, I got them written down, but I was thinking of something.
I got one, and I'll give you more time to think. Okay, you mentioned Kevin Costner. One of my favorite Kevin Costner movies ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, I just like it. Is Tin Cup, the golf one. I've seen that movie like 40, I've seen that movie like 40 times.
Yeah.
It was one of those movies when it came out, it played on HBO, and every time it came on HBO or whatever cable channel it was, I would literally watch it every time. So I just love Tin Cup. It's like, it's well written, and Rene Russo is all hot and sexy, and and Kevin Costner, he played a good part of the sort of the loser type. Yeah. So it was just a cool movie. I like Tin Cup. So rent that one.
All right. Well, mine. It's a forgotten film, really, but Meg Ryan was known for doing all these,
and she's
romantic
comedy.
She's not coming back. I don't think so.
It's over.
She's done a lot of memorable romantic comedies. One of them that was really good is called IQ. So that's my movie rental suggestion. Is a really good, solid romantic comedy. Takes place in the early 50s. Meg Ryan's in it. Tim Robbins, and one of Walter Matthau's last performances. But the movie came out in 2004, and not 2004, 1994, and it was a year of transition in Hollywood. So it just kind of got buried and missed.
What made you think of it now?
Because I ran across it doing another segment of our show, which we'll do next week. And I kind of ran across that movie. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that movie. Yeah. So
that was a good movie with Tim Robbins, Walter Matthau. Walter Matthau was Einstein,
right?
And she was his niece or something.
Exactly.
And then anyway, yeah.
Yeah, he's like worried about his niece being kind of the spinster, so he sets her up with a mechanic or something like that. Anyway, it's cute.
Tim Robbins plays a dumb guy. He always plays dumb guys. Tim Robbins. Yeah. Tim Robbins' best movies, he plays a dumb guy.
Right. Yeah.
Just saying, Tim.
Well, Mystic River. I mean, he's a little off.
Yeah,
he's a little dumb. Yeah, but he still got nominated.
He's
for
a mouth breather. Yeah, he's a mouth breather in Mystic River.
He got nominated for that too.
He won.
Oh, did he win? Yeah, that's right. He won. That's right. Yeah,
he won.
Him and Sean Penn.
That's right. Sean Penn killed him, and they both won Oscars. So go figure.
And he got the role basically for saying, "Let me see my daughter." That's all he does in the whole movie. Sean Penn.
Oh yeah. That one scene where they're carrying him out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good scene. But it's like, well, wait a minute. Like,
you're the king.
Performance? I mean,
I wasn't that big on the movie. I thought it was kind of...
I thought his screen time, he's in the movie, 13 minutes?
I like the movie.
I like the movie, but
it was,
best actor? I mean, I thought that was much, but anyway.
Eh.
But he wanted again for milk, and so that's cool. Okay, we got off the beaten path once again.
So what's our quote of the week?
Quote of the week. Last week's was, "In 30 seconds you'll be dead. Then I'll blow this place up and be home in time for cornflakes." So that, of course, is from Total Recall.
That's right.
Ronnie Cox playing the villain.
I got real quick on the morning show on Chris and Russ and Steph's morning show. They talked about Total Recall being remade with Colin Farrell, who is in his own comeback. Because he kind of went down the tubes, and now he's starting to come back. Which I like Colin Farrell. Who didn't like Colin Farrell in the morning show? Oh, she's asleep.
Chris.
Oh yeah, Chris didn't like Colin Farrell. I actually like Colin Farrell a lot. Tigerland. Go rent Tigerland with Colin Farrell.
Yeah, that's a really good movie.
Yeah,
well, I think he got too much blame for the Alexander
and then the whole
fiasco,
the drinking thing, and everybody was just like the whole bad boy thing. People kind of got turned off.
Well, yeah, that was
It was kind of people were like, okay, that's enough.
Speaking
of enough. No.
Okay, wrap it up. This week's quote of the week is "Explain to me. I need an explanation. What is the matter with you?" Okay.
Oh yeah.
Explain to me. I need an explanation. What is the matter with you? That is this week's quote of the week, and it's from a very memorable scene in this movie. Which you got to guess.
It's my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah.
It's my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
So you movie aficionados may get this quite easily.
And the movie was kind of a 3-star movie, but that's like a 4-star moment in a 3-star movie.
Yeah, it really is.
Right.
But there it is.
And speaking of 4-star moments and 3-star movies, we're wrapping up our show.
Yes. Go to the Facebook wall, by the way.
Oh yeah, to guess the quote.
Hulks.
Sam died down the job. Sam distracted folks with the battery blinking and everything.
Yeah.
You had to guess the quote of the week, which is he's already told you. Go to the Facebook wall, post it on our Facebook wall, Credible Hoax, or email us at hoke@redseatelevision.com.
And that's it.
All right.
We made it through another one.
We
just barely.
We made it through another one. So with that, adieu.
See ya.
The light just keeps blinking and blinking.